Hey C-Stars, Emmy here and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reading Am I the Arsehole Reddit posts and their updates. Am I the asshole for humiliating my ex's new girlfriend in front of our friend group? Posting from my inactive account because I have some friends lurking in my main one. I, 22 female, broke up with my boyfriend, 24 male, around 8 months ago. We decided to mutually call it quits and parted in pretty good terms, which is good because we just so happened to share a friend group. After a rough patch, I decided to start taking a bit more care of myself, eating better, going to the gym, going to therapy. The shift was pretty evident, both in my attitude and the way I looked. My friends said I looked much happier and healthier, and I began gaining confidence little by little. Now, I'm a huge nerd, and I play D&D weekly. I have thousands of hours in Stellaris, and, most relevant to the story, I like to cosplay as a hobby. Most of my old cosplay involved characters that don't show their face or body too much. Hornet from Hollow Knight, Mono from Little Nightmares, etc. But since I'd been feeling more confident, I decided that for the big con in my city, I'd like to try something different. A friend convinced me of going as Viper and Chamber from Valorant. So, for the past 6 months, we've been pouring most of our free time into cosplays. 3 weeks ago, I sent a picture of me wearing the cosplay to the group chat, asking for feedback for the final details. My ex immediately DM'd me, asking me to please not wear that cosplay to the con because it might make his new girlfriend uncomfortable. I asked what about it would make her uncomfortable, and he refused to elaborate. I knew he was dating someone new, but I didn't know she was coming with us to the con. I tried to explain to him this was the work of months, and I couldn't just throw it all away just because a girl I'd never met felt uncomfortable about it. In the end, I wore it to the con, and it was a huge success. I tried to keep my distance from the larger chunk of our group because my ex and his new girl were with them. But we did spend a good part of the day with them. Throughout the whole thing, the new girl kept making snide comments at me and laughing whenever I got asked to pose for pictures. Everyone looked uncomfortable, but nobody said anything. After leaving the con to have dinner though, another friend asked the new girl if she would like to try cosplay as well. Her answer was, why would I need more attention from guys? I already have a boyfriend, I'm not a slut. I snapped and told her to stop acting like a pick-me bitch just because I got attention all day. She started to cry immediately. My ex steps in asking me to apologize. I tell him I'll only do it if she apologizes for the way she's been acting around me all day. More and more of our friends start to join the screaming match, and it gets so bad we end up getting kicked out of the restaurant. It's been 5 days, and my ex is threatening to leave the friend group if I don't apologize. I honestly wouldn't care if he did, but some of our friends are asking me to do so to stop him from leaving. Should I cave? Am I the asshole? Okay, so let's dive into this. First of all, I'm going to say you are not the asshole, because cosplay takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, it takes money, and to make a cosplay, it's a lot of work. Like, I know a lot of work goes into that, and you are definitely in your own right to wear what cosplay you want. What isn't right though is the new girl making snide comments because you're getting asked to pose for pictures. Other cosplayers will take pictures with other cosplayers because they like and enjoy their costumes, or the cosplay in general, or the character in general. But no, not the asshole. X's new side piece is a bitch. And the ex as well. Like, no. Why threaten to leave a friend group? That's a red flag. And to be honest, I'm so glad you dumped him. Okay, we have an update. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up as much as it did. Thank you all for your support, understanding, and kind comments. First of all, I want to apologise if the redaction in the original post wasn't the best. English is not my first language, and I kind of wrote it in the heat of the moment. Second of all, my ex left the friend group and took his new girl with him. Good riddance. After a final attempt at making me apologise, he left the chat through a long paragraph of text and a block to every single person involved. The two ex-friends who asked me to apologise to him followed suit. I'm not surprised in the slightest, since they've been his friends longer than they have been mine. I will admit I'm a bit heartbroken about it, but I'll get over it. Of course, my ex DM'd me to call me an immature bitch one last time, then proceeded to block me as well. Honestly, I'm fine with that. Now, for some clarifications on the original post. Yeah, I admit the screaming match was very immature and impolite of us. I don't want to make excuses, but after a whole day at the con, we were all tired, hungry, and very annoyed. Emotions were running high, and we behaved very immaturely. Thankfully, that particular place is used to dealing with con attendees and weren't too harsh on us. We did leave a big tip as an apology. To everyone asking if I'll post the cosplay, I'm flattered, but while I believe I've become a bit more confident in my skills, I don't think I'm ready to blast it to thousands of people on the internet just yet. Maybe I'll upload something to my main account at some point, but definitely not here. Just in case anyone wants to know what the screaming match scene looked like, only 5 people out of the 11 were wearing regular clothes. The others were all in cosplay. Viper, myself, Chamber, 2 Mikus, a Kava from Genshin, and a friend's OC. Again, thank you all. And sorry if you were expecting a more dramatic update. I'll reach out if anything more interesting happens, though I really doubt it. See ya. I, for one, am glad that he's out of your life, because that's not good. That is not good. He is way more immature than what you were being, though. While it was immature to argue, the issue mostly lies within your ex and his bird and their attitude towards you and your cosplay. You are not the asshole. On to the next Am I the Asshole story. Am I the asshole for telling my stepfather he will not be a part of my future? My stepfather, male, 51, and I, female, 19, have not had a necessarily good relationship. Even before he married my mother. We tolerate each other considering we have one thing in common. My mother, his wife, being an important part of our lives. I have lived with my mother, stepfather, and sibling since I was 16. He has very specific rules of living in his house, which I follow. I also pay rent now because that just makes sense since I'm an adult. These rules, since I was 16, have gotten really strict over the years, to the point he argues with me over the littlest mistakes I do. That is fine, but these days he tries to find anything to argue with me about, not just rules. He starts the argument when he knows I'm the only one in the house. Or if my mother is not around. I tend to just stay in my room, cook food when he's not home, or just stay out studying or at a friend's house to avoid conflict. His native language and mine are not the same. The language here is my second one. so I don't like arguing since I can't express myself well. The arguments have been happening more frequently to the point that he does it in front of my mother too. I can tell she is uncomfortable seeing it, but doesn't add to the situation because she doesn't want to pick sides. He uses the language against me while arguing, telling me not to speak my native language in the house either, whether to my mother when I don't know a word in the language here, or when I'm calling my dad since he only speaks our native language. This, coupled with other things happening, has put me on edge. I work and study. Last week I was getting ready for work, a late shift, and only my stepfather was home. I was putting my things in my bag and he came over to start an argument over catching my mother and I having talked in my native language the day before. He argued that we should not speak in a language he doesn't know because we could be talking bad about him. We weren't talking about him, but about how I wanted to change workplaces. Same company, different town, but he didn't believe me. We even switched languages to his when he came into the living room when it happened. The argument got heated and words were thrown around on both sides. He said something very left field that he knew I didn't like discussing. A traumatic time when I was 15. I was so angry. I said he now had no place in my future wedding he wouldn't attend, but my mother could. My future children, he wouldn't be a grandfather, but my mother would be a grandma. He told my mother, who for the last week has been tiptoeing around it, I feel bad for her as she is caught in the middle of this, and apologized to her. And I know I'd been way too harsh on my stepfather, but I don't want my future to be filled with more arguments, especially not on special things like a possible wedding or kids. I will be moving out soon since that's been my plan the last few months. I finally found an affordable apartment and maybe that will relieve some tension. And we have an update. It's been a while, but I decided I should update. I did end up moving out and got an apartment, but a few months later I moved back to my home country, thankfully with a smooth transition on my studies too. I'm also in therapy too, which has helped me deeply. It's been great to see my father, brother and extended family again. After I moved out, I cut off all contact with my, at the time, stepfather. Yes, at the time, because my mother's currently divorcing him. I'm not sure what finally got through to her about him. When I moved out, I didn't give my mother my new address in fear of her telling him where I lived. I'd meet up with her occasionally in public, but very limited, as at the time she still agreed with him on his actions. She did eventually apologize, but that apology came quite a bit later, around the time I was moving countries. Our relationship won't be what it was when I was younger, and I don't think I'll be comfortable mending it to the old standard. I found out when she apologized that before she divorced my bio father, she did in fact cheat on him with my stepfather. Though I wasn't surprised, it was disappointing to know. So in a way, my words from before were true. He won't be in my future. I cut him out, and legally, he won't be my stepfather either in the near future. Life's good. Good study, good country, good apartment, have time with my father and brother, and I'm even seeing someone at the moment. Thank you, everyone. That's all. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie, your stepfather's the asshole. You're not the asshole. If your stepfather is basically trying to find anything to cause an argument, then he's the asshole here. I'm just glad your mother came around eventually. It's one thing siding with you, but it's completely different siding with someone who is narcissistic. On to the next story. Am I the asshole for flipping off my aunt over Skype? While this incident happened 13 years ago, it's being brought up by my aunt now since she's come to visit our hometown. And because it's my mother's sister, my mom is asking me to apologise for it. I, 36 male, was 23 at the time. I had lived on my own for about 3.5 years, but I had to move back home after losing my job at the time. When I came back, I took whatever work I could get. This included temp jobs through agencies. I wanted to get back on my feet as fast as possible. I started working a warehouse job. The pay at the time was slightly above minimum wage. Let me tell you, it sucked. Work started at 4:30 a.m. and went through 4:30 p.m. 12-hour days. People aren't kidding around when they say warehouse jobs break your back. I was trying to get back out on my own while also paying for college tuition. With the context out of the way, here is the incident itself. The bedroom I was staying in at my parents' house was on the main floor of the house, and the dining room was just outside the bedroom door. The family computer was in that dining room. With work starting so early in the morning, I had to go to bed early and wanted to get as much sleep as I could. My mom has a habit of drinking a lot of rum and coke. That night she was chatting with my aunt on Skype via a video call. They were both drinking on the video call and they got around being pretty loud and obnoxious. I came out of my room 2 or 3 times asking them to please keep it down because I had to be up early for work. It was around 10:30 p.m. and I had to be awake around 3:30 for work. After the 3rd time of me asking them to please keep it down, my aunt piped up and said, "Well, if you don't like the noise, maybe you should move out," and then she laughed at me. It was this rude, sarcastic cackle type of laugh. I will admit, I got upset and walked over to the computer, flipped her the middle finger into the webcam and unplugged the computer. I told my mom that I was going to bed and that I needed to wake up early. My mom ultimately decided to call it a night with all the drinking she had been doing and went upstairs. That's the incident. Now, 13 years later, I am married and have a 7-year-old daughter. We bought a house in 2022. Now that my aunt is coming to visit my mom, she wants me to apologise all these years later. My mom, being 70, says she doesn't remember the incident. She has been having memory issues, so I'm not going to debate that. Should I apologise 13 years later? Am I the asshole? You were trying to be a responsible adult. After you lost your job, you got whatever job you could through agencies, part-time, temp, whatever you could get to start getting back on your feet. That is not an asshole move. What is the asshole move is that your aunt, one, needs to stop drinking, if she already hasn't, and you should not apologise. They were rudely keeping you awake by being loud, obnoxious, especially when you told them multiple times that you needed to be awake early for work. I would have done the same thing. I would have flipped her off too and unplugged the computer. But after 13 years, she's being petty and just keeping a grudge for absolutely no reason. You are not the asshole, but she is. And we have an update. I hope I'm doing this right on mobile. I got a fair amount of feedback, with the middle ground being for both me and my aunt to apologise and move on. Let it be water under the bridge. That was the route I was planning to take. I wasn't expecting to post an update, but here I am. A few days after my post, me and my wife went to my mum's house to pick up our daughter. Thursday is Grandma Day for school pickup. My mum is a very involved grandma and I appreciate that. My aunt was at my mum's house visiting. We walked in and before I could even greet my daughter, my aunt came up to me and said, "Do you have anything to say to me?" I'll type the conversation here. Me. I'm more than happy to apologise. However, both of us did wrong that night 13 years ago. And I think it would be best if we went that route. Aunt, I did nothing wrong. You were freeloading and being a bum. I simply told you to move out if you didn't like the noise. Me. I was working and going to school. That's hardly freeloading. I had to be up for work at 3:30 a.m. Aunt. Well, that doesn't matter. You don't get to give me the finger over the internet. Me. I asked both you and Mom nicely 3 times to please be quiet as I needed to sleep. You both had iPhones at the time, with Skype also on those. Wasn't it possible to talk somewhere else that wasn't outside my bedroom door? Aunt, I don't have to listen to this. Now I have a present for your daughter. If you don't say sorry to me, she doesn't get it. At that point, I had enough. I told my wife and daughter we were leaving. My mom apologized for her sister's behavior. My aunt got snippy with my mom for not siding with her. I told my aunt that she can insult me all she wants, but she will not disrespect my daughter like that by holding a gift over her head over something like this. So, I didn't apologize. I was more than happy to take the middle ground and let it be water under the bridge. Because honestly, this was so long ago, and honestly, it's very petty. I wasn't going to let it take up more energy than it needed to. If we could have had a civil conversation, the outcome would have been very different. It just didn't go that way. We left my mom's house without any incidents, and I don't plan on talking to my aunt anymore. It's as simple as that. Honestly, I think you did the right thing. You were going to go for the middle ground. She just didn't want to take blame in a situation that she caused. All you can do really is just go your separate ways, and I wouldn't be talking to her again. That's for sure. Alright, sea stars, that is Am I the Asshole Reddit post. The first one on this channel. I want to know what you think about these 3 stories in the comments. Would you have done the same thing? Would you have done something differently? Do you agree with what I've said on it? Or disagreed? You know, just stuff like that. Anyways, I shall see you in the next video. Bye!